Welcome, everybody, back to the Talk of the Town podcast. I'm your host, Andy Burrows. This podcast can be found on all audio platforms, Spotify, Google Pod, if that's still a thing, Apple, and now, obviously, on YouTube. Brad is doing great things over on the YouTube, so you can find us on YouTube. Just go and search Dunstable Town FC on YouTube, and you can find us there. Like I said, I'm your host, Andy Burrows, and as you can see, he's not in his car this week. He's made it home safe and sound. I'm joined by Dunstable Town Vice Chairman, Mr. Matty Carrington. Matty, how are you, sir?
Yeah, not so bad. Can't say I really enjoyed our Kia away this weekend, but yeah, it was
You know
nice.
what, mate? This was the first Saturday with no football, and I was bored. Honestly, I was like, oh my God, we've got quite a few more weeks of these to do, but we've got lots of content coming out. Thankfully, we get to talk some football on the show. Me and you are here to do our end of season review show. Not going to be great. I'm not going to lie. So it's not going to be okay. It's not going to be brilliant. I'm not going to beat around the bush. But Dunstable Town obviously finishing 13th in the league, Matt. Won 10, drew 10, lost 16. We had an highest attendance of 352, which I know you'll be pleased about, averaging 209, which is up from obviously
year on year. Yeah.
Yes, it's creeping up, Matt. Just on that, before we get into games and stuff, you must have been pleased with. I know, obviously, you for the club, it must have been good, averaging over 200 fans per game. Midweek, I'd say there's probably like 150, 160.
Yeah.
Never easy, like when Luton are at home, and when we have a few Watford fans in the local area. It's never easy for us. When obviously Luton being back in the Premier League, you can kind of see why Gates might be down on a Tuesday night. But the weekend, Gates, mate, you must have been fairly pleased from a director's point of view, and just as a fan's point of view, when you look around Creasy Park on a Saturday and you saw a lot of youngsters there, and there was a lot of. It seemed to me that the attendances have gone up and up in the last couple of seasons, mate. It must make you happy as a director seeing that this season.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's lots of good stuff going on, but albeit not the most successful season on the pitch. But I think a lot of that goes down to the type of football that had been played this season. The fact that we were still, as you say, had higher attendances than last season and finished 13th. It just does go to show that people were starting to buy into what we are trying to do at the club. Both as on the pitch as well as our community bits. We had lots of people coming in who I've never seen before, which is great. So yeah, I mean, as you say, up year on year, which has always been my target. So just year on year increase the attendances. So yeah, I can't grumble on that. There's a lot of grumble about, but
yeah, no doubt. In the next 45 minutes, we will grumble a little bit. Matty, let's go back to the start of the season. One thing I'd want to touch on as well. Obviously, we played in the FA Cup away to MK Irish, and we got dumped out in the first qualifying round this season, losing over at MK Irish. Now, I know we never budget for FA Cup runs, and why would you? Because it'd be silly to put that into a budget, but. The point I would like to make and maybe get across to our listeners and stuff like that is obviously being self-funded, where like we are. And I know this game was away, but we're talking about the FA Cup in general. Mm-hmm. How important is it for us to? And you can never guarantee what draw you're going to get. Obviously, MK Irish away this season was never going to be easy, but I think the FA Cup runs are so important for any non-league club, Matt. But I think for us more so, if we had it a couple of seasons ago, we had a little mini run when you do get a home game in the FA Cup, because we're in that very not rare, not awkward situation where we don't get our bar takings, and for us, things like FA Cup runs are important because the further you go, obviously, the little bit more money that we can generate as a club. And again, you don't budget for this, and I know that for a fact. But just how important is it for us, even more so? Bearing in mind the way we do get our income is slightly different to other clubs. You look at clubs like MK Irish, and you look at Leighton Town, and you look at Harpen, all generate money through bar, through takings from over the bar, from food sales, everything like that. We Dunstable don't factor that in because it's just the way it's always been. How important is the FA Cup, Matt, to the club, and and moving forward? It was so disappointing, wasn't it, this season to see us dumped out in the first qualifying round, albeit to a very good MK Irish team.
Yeah, definitely. In regards to the prize money and everything, as you say, it's not budgeted, but it would have been nice because it's not only do you get the actual prize money itself, but you do get the casual interest in coming to a game because it is the FA Cup. It's the oldest cup tournament in the world. It's got the nostalgia, despite the FA's best efforts to ruin it. And as a result, you do get people who tend not to come to a Dunstable Town game. I mean, classic example, Dan, as in on our board, Dan, director Dan, he came along to watch us. I think it was the COVID year when we beat Tame United. I think no, Tame Rangers, and got hooked. And that's what you want. You want the dads to bring their sons and daughters along just to say, oh, the FA Cup's great. Let's come and watch our local team. And you hope that they do get the bug and they come back. And that's, for me, much more important than the actual prize money, because the further along you get, the more casual interest you'll get. Because if you end up on TV or you draw a big name, you can only do that by winning your first couple of games. So it was disappointing this year that we didn't get further. But as you say, I mean, I'm not going to take anything away from MK Irish, because I think I've said it before, they are probably the best team I've seen this season. And I even include Real Bedford on that. I thought Real Bedford were good. But I think as a complete unit of a team, I thought MK Irish was the best team I've seen this season.
Yeah, I'd echo that. Obviously, my mate Lee Brown, like I said many times, he's over there. I'm going to go and watch them on Wednesday, actually. They're playing FC Romania at home this Wednesday. I'm going to pop over there and watch that. But yeah, I think, like I say, I think for any non-league club, the FA Cup is important. I mean, hopefully next season they're going to say that, like, from the qualifying rounds onwards, the FA are putting it on their website, and no matter who we draw, they're going to stream games. As a club, Matt, you mentioned that the FA are trying to ruin the FA Cup. Just quickly while we're chatting on it, is this something they reach out to us in the closed season to talk about, where games potentially could be streamed on FA websites and stuff? This is the whole scrapping of the replays thing from the first round. But obviously they said, oh, we're putting money. Their terminology was putting money back into grassroots. But from the first qualifying round, they're going to be broadcast via the FA website. I mean, hopefully for us, it would be, good if we could get a decent-ish draw. And now, is that something that the FA, do they reach out to us as a club? I don't know how any of this works.
Your guess is as good as mine on that one, mate. The issue I have with that is the fact that they have been having the FA Cup on TV for the last couple of years. So the BBC have been putting on their iPlayer. I think it was, I can't remember, but some local team was in the FA Cup, and it was played on the red button, and that was in I think the first qualifying round. So the fact they're saying that, oh yeah, we're going to have coverage, well, yeah, you've already done that, so that doesn't mean anything to me. I mean, I have to admit, I did put a couple of cheeky comments and private messages to the FA Cup Twitter account saying, well, more than happy for you to come and film at our game, because it is money to the club.
Yeah. Any
straight
revenue.
away. Absolutely. I mean, you're talking split between the two clubs, $4 or $5 grand. It's which at our level is a decent sum of cash.
Yeah, 100%. Let's get into the season review then, mate. Obviously, it went out in the FA Cup early doors. We started at home. Ellsbury. We played Ellsbury at home. First game, we won 2-0. And then we also beat Colney Heath in the month of August. But we played 6 games in August, only winning 2 of them. Obviously, like I say, dumped out the FA Cup. And then we lost to Biggleswade. Remember, early doors, Biggleswade away, 5-3. That was an absolute killer for me. That was one of the worst nights of my life. I really hated that. Like I said to you as we were chatting before we hit record, our biggest win streak was from the 30th of December till January the 13th, beating Crawley 2-0, Colney Heath 1-0 away, and Potton at home 2-0. We then didn't win a game till the 16th of March, beating London Lions at home 3-2. And in that, we also had Potton away 1-0. They had 10 men for most of the game, and I think ended up with 9 men right near the end of the game. Lost to Arsley away 4-1, which it wasn't great. We didn't beat Sawbridgeworth. We played them in 3 games, didn't beat them in 90 minutes. I mean, Matty, we talk about injury. You look at players like Luke Dunstan was missing for a large majority of the season. A huge loss. Davo got injured in pre-season. Massive loss. I mean, what are you putting this season down to? Like when we spoke with Joe and Dirks and Anthony in our podcast and our pre-game and our post-game and everything, is a lot of it come down to injuries. Does play a big part in any level of football, but I don't want to just blame it on injuries. Was this season, just like I've said many times on shows and pods to Joe, every team has these seasons. Unfortunately, this kind of was our year because I think, we nearly went up last season, albeit we went to Stotfold in the last game and it was just out of our hands. The season before, we just missed out with like a game to go. So we come into this season thinking, right, please, this season, let's kick on. And what do you put it down to, us not quite kicking on this season? Because everyone you spoke to this time last season when we were doing, or in pre-season, we're like, right, Dunstable are one of the favourites to go up. They put us up there, with the Real Bedfords, with the MK Irish and people like that. We were in that ilk. And what do you think it was? For whatever reason, it just didn't happen this season.
If I knew that, mate, I think we would have been fixed it, honestly. As you say, injuries did play a part. I'm not going to try and dismiss the severity of them. I do worry that we didn't replace like for like. So I know I had a conversation with Joe, and he's adult enough to talk to anybody about it. And I did question, not as in a director, but kind of as just to get my head around it.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why we didn't go out and get somebody after we lost Davo, obviously we lost Jardel from last season, and we didn't have Krilly. And as Joe says, the trouble is, if you get somebody in, how long are they going to be here for? Because once Krilly is fit enough, he then walks back into the team, and who's going to hang around on the peripheral just in case their opportunity comes up. I think that didn't help. I mean, Joe's, he laboured on time and time again about all the 0-1s at the back. That was a big miss this season. I also think the chopping and changing of goalkeepers between sticks, again, not their fault, but there was quite a few times where we had to change to Nocti back to Connor. We obviously got Desi in and Sean. Again, it was injuries, and I don't know what their training regime is. I know that he drilled them really hard, but I don't think that was the main reason why we were picking up so many injuries. Mate, honestly, if I did know, it would be I'd be in a job. I mean, I did
interview yourself for the new manager's job.
I sent him a screenshot of Football Manager. It didn't even get me a conversation with the chairman.
It's quite worrying when you can't get an interview with yourself, Matt, as well. I mean, that's when you need to start to worry, when you can't shortlist yourself for the Dunstable manager's job. Things like FC Romania at home. I think Alfie ended up in goal in the last minute, and we conceded, not his fault, conceded a long range effort. I think that was on a Tuesday night at Dunstable. So I remember I didn't make the Stansted game, but we were 2-0 down pretty rapid there, and I remember you texting me going, "You chose a good one to miss here, mate." Just things like that, when you look back, and I went back through the program, the great program that Scotty does, and I've been looking at some of our results. You do look at like Stansted. You look at Sawbridgeworth over 3 games, albeit one of them in the cup when we beat them on penalties. You look at Arsley when we went over there and lost 4-1 in one of the worst performances of the season. But then you look at games like Real Bedford at home and you think, Jesus, when we want to do it, there was glimmers there, but them glimmers were few and far between. I mean, someone like Dylan coming in, I thought did tremendously well. And I think if it wasn't for injury, for me, would have been up there to, I know we didn't do an awards, but like a player of the season kind of thing. So I think he really did. Dylan coming in really did step up his game and really did play well, stepping in for like what Davo would have been at left back or centre back. But Dylan coming in, I thought did really well. But for me, I mean, I think injuries we just couldn't get our best 11 on the team consistently throughout the season. And obviously we lost Harry Beaumont through injury, and then he had his honeymoon break, which is fair enough. Everyone's entitled to go away for it, but we lost him for a month. Luke Dunstan again, big loss. We lost at stages throughout the season. Alfie wasn't there, like you say. The goalkeeping situation didn't really help. And if you look at it, Danny Webb scoring 13 goals. Did you know? What did he finish on? 16 goals.
I think it was 16.
16, 17 goals, and that's a good return. But if you look around the league, that's nowhere near enough goals scored at the end where we want it to be, for me, to be competitive in this league, if that makes sense. And, I thought Webby was, if we did hand out player of the season, I think Webby's got to be in with a great shout. But for me, Matt, I don't think we scored enough goals. So, if you look at seasons gone by, you've had Sellers, you had Faulkner, you've had various people contributing, Tolu contributing. this season, for whatever reason, I just don't think we found the back of the net enough, mate. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, as you say, looking at last season, you had Folks, Sellers, Kelvin, and Webby all competing for the
Mm.
top goal scorer right up until the last game of the season.
That's another
This,
person applying for the job, bringing you.
yeah, just not been. I think, as you say, Webby's the top scorer. Beyond him, I couldn't even tell you who was the second highest goal scorer. And when you look at Ben Stevens, just having a look at him now, the top goal scorer in the league, 39 goals this season. So,
Wow.
you know, and Joe Evans, who's second for the same team, 38 goals and 5 penalties. So actually, I think he scored more. But yeah, that's why, as you say, you need to find a goal scorer in this league.
Do you think there was a pressure's probably the wrong word, but do you think there was an element of expectation, maybe from us as fans as well? And you know, the club is more highlighted now because of things like podcasts and stuff like that. Do you think that the expectation not got to the lads, because I don't think they ever would, and a Joe Deeney side would never, have that burden on their back, so to speak. But the expectation of coming into the season with a lot of people going, right, Dunstable Town should be up there. Do you think that played a factor as well? And I think that's testament to our own success. We had been so close last season and the season before, the 2 seasons that Joe, apart from when Joe come in instead of the ship, when I think he got us up to like the 9th or 10th in his first season, took us from bottom to 10th, which was a tremendous achievement. Then you look at the next 2 seasons here where we just narrowly missed out on either making the playoffs or making it like promotion or to like winning the league. We come so close. Do you think that the element of expectation played a part this season, and that's maybe why we didn't hit the heights of previous seasons?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, last season was a great season. Being up there, really competing well with every other league. Every other club. Yeah, I think maybe some of the pressure got to them. Not really sure.
Yeah, I mean, pressure's not. I know I speak to Joe all the time, and he was like, pressure isn't like a word he likes to use, because you just have to go out there and play football. But again, I come back to like Ardsley away and things like that when we lost 4-1, and to go on that massive that streak from January the 13th to the 16th of March at any level of football, you cannot go that long without winning a game of football. And and some of them we were, but some of the games in between we were unlucky. Again, I looked to like Potton away when it was 1-0. I thought we played tremendously well over there, but I don't know what. At first half, I thought we were great. Second half, we come out pretty much played against 10 men the whole of the second half, and I don't know what happened. For whatever reason, we just kind of seemed to go into our shell. I think that there was a lot of that from us this season. We didn't play with maybe the freedom that we had in previous seasons, and I don't know what. I can't quite put my finger on to why it was. Maybe it was because we couldn't have a consistent 11. I don't know what you think. We just didn't seem to have that freedom about our play. Whereas previous seasons we went out and we just played with the freedom, and we played with a style that was fitting to us, and we were winning games.
Yeah, definitely. I think, as you say, not being able to field the same 11 pretty much every week, I think that kind of hits the nail on the head. Yes, you can drill them in training to the cows come home, but unless you have that continuity, it's going to be hard to gel, essentially.
Were there any standout players for you this season? I mean, I mentioned Dylan there. I mean, like you say, with so many injuries, I thought Alfie was tremendous, but kind of converting from a central midfielder to a centre back now, pretty much for the season. I think we can safely say that Alfie's now pretty much a centre back. I thought he transitioned well there. He's our captain, he's our leader. Tolu again spent a lot of the season. Maybe he's going to hate me for saying this. His favourite is left wingy back position, best left wing back in the league. I know Tolu. We have a joke with him about that, but again, I thought he played well, but I thought sometimes we were limited with Tolu at left wing back because we were so used to seeing him go forward and get past players, and we saw that. But I think maybe for him, sometimes the defensive side of the game took over, where he was going the way we wanted to, but then he was worried about getting back. I think he had to be a lot more defensively minded this season. I don't know if I thought I saw that creep into his game. I don't know if that's for the good or the bad. I prefer him. I've said this many times: left midfield, flying past fullbacks, getting into scoring positions. He's probably our most creative player, shall we say? You know, I don't know what you think. I liked him at wing back. Just for me though, I preferred him at left mid.
Yeah, I completely agree. I know, again, had conversations with Joe about this, and he does feel as though left back is going to be Tolly's best
Moving
position.
forward, he did say that many times, didn't he? If he wants to go higher in the game, he sees him. And fair play, you know, I'm not going to sit here and question Joe. I think back he knows way more than I do. But he saw him as a left wing back.
Yeah, definitely. I think the fact that he could also go right wing back as well, because hang on, 2 seconds. Yeah, so with him on the right, obviously with Dylan on the left, I think it worked out quite well when they were both fit. But again, it's you know, Dylan was obviously missed quite a lot of the season this season through injury towards the end. Yeah, it's not ideal. I mean, I think beyond them two, as you say, Harry did well. Obviously, Butty and the two Kavanaghs when they come into
brilliant, did so well. So proud of them to come into. It's probably such a difficult situation to come into as well. Like you say, if you'd come in last season when it's all singing and all dancing, it's very difficult to come into a team. And I think Butty and the brothers, I think they did well this season. They come in, they didn't look out of place. You know, some man of the matches. They chipped in with a few goals. I thought they did tremendous. Them guys for me were like, it was so good to see them come through. And testament to what we've done. You know, Joe and Dirks and Andy have seen at the youth level. Testament to what the what the under 18s team have done. I think that's one for me. That is a shining light this season. The future of the club, looking, you know, how long we have these boys for, we don't know, because like I mentioned when I was chatting to the under 14s guys the other day, because of the way the football is structured around our area, a Luton or Watford, someone could come and go, we'll have them in our academy, and you're not going to stop lads going to academy. I think that was a standout for me, seeing them guys come through this season.
Yeah, definitely. And great work by the under 18s management towards the end of the season to really bring them through. I think, I don't know if anybody saw the result, but the defeat against, or the win, I should say, against Hemel and the previous game just goes to show, in my opinion, what we can do next season. So I think it's an exciting time to be involved in the under 18s. Obviously, we've got more youth coming through to the under 18s this season. Hopefully we'll see the same one or two or three or four that actually break through to the first team.
Yeah, let's kind of touch on moving forward towards next season now, Matt. As you and I sit here now, we're obviously in the close season. Like I said, we've only had one Saturday with no football, and I was bored out of my mind. I'm not gonna lie to you. How do we before we get onto the whole manager? Obviously, the deadline for me and you sit here recording this on a Monday night. The deadline is tomorrow for applications for the Dunstable Town first team manager. What goes into the interview process? You mentioned the youth team players there, Matt. Is that something that we're keen to stress? I think that's such a key role in any non-league type club where, you know, we're self-funded and the budgets aren't huge at non-league level. I think it's important if a manager comes in, and it's always good when a manager comes in and it's all right saying, right, I'll bring 13, 14, 15 players. Well, when you've got such a successful under 18s team, is that something that goes into the thinking, Matt, when you're chatting to managers that might take the job, when you say to them, hey, look, we wouldn't mind developing the youth guys as well a little bit more?
Definitely. I think it's important that we bring through the youth players because, you know, we have a very good youth setup now. We've obviously started introducing into the EJA, and we want to see that reaping some results in terms of seeing a few players who are willing to come through. So yeah, I think whoever is successful and gets the job, would like to. I personally, I can't obviously speak for the rest of the board, but I personally would like to see them bring a couple of people through the youth system, work with the youth managers as well. Again, that's an important relationship. We don't have a development team, so that is essentially the next step up for them. So yeah, we'll see what happens. I mean, yeah, as you say, the deadline's tomorrow. We've seen some real cracking applications through. I'm really chuffed with the amount that we've actually had through as well. And again, it just goes to show the difference between where we was 2 or 3 seasons ago to where we are now. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting the interviews done, which will be done fairly soon, so we can get it done, dusted before everyone goes off for the summer holidays. Yeah,
just obviously touching on that. I know a lot of fans are going to want to know where we are. You briefly mentioned it there. Obviously, the deadline's tomorrow for applications for the Dunstable Town manager's job. How is the whole process going, Matt? Obviously, I always say this to you. I'm not here to throw anyone under the bus or get you to give me any trade secret, but I know fans will be generally interested to know because you don't usually get an insight to this kind of thing. Obviously, the higher you go up the levels, you don't. But how is the whole process going? Is there a number that you would like to whittle it down to say, right, we want to get it down to 4, 5, 6, 3? How will the interview process go? I know that Andrew obviously mentioned when Andrew was on with us a couple of weeks ago. He mentioned last time you guys hired out a space. Obviously now you've got the hub down at Dunstable now, so that might save you a few quid, obviously. But just talk the fans through the whole process, Max. I know there will be, fans. They DM me all the time saying they like hearing about this kind of stuff. How's the process going? You mentioned you've had some great candidates, and just talk us where we are at the minute. 'Cause I know fans would be keen for an update.
Yeah, definitely. So basically, at this current time, we have I think it's over 30 applications, which is a good place to be in. And the fact is, we are going through the shortlist now. It's very pleasing, and to me, it just shows the appeal of the Community Benefit Society being a community club. It's the appeal of the club. I think it has helped having Joe on board. He's been able to increase the appeal of the club. But I think overall, people who are applying are kind of talking about the work that we are doing. So that's good for me. It just goes to show that we're doing something that is starting to be seen as the right thing to do, and hopefully move on from there.
Yeah, I mean, how hard? Not hard's probably the wrong word. How important is it that we get the decision right, Matt? Look, me and you were talking. We talk all the time. Non-league football is very different to the pro game. Obviously, that's what Joe's just gone off to the pro game now. He's going to experience. He's switched 180 from doing what he does with us to now gone off to the pro game. How hard is it that this decision is one from a club perspective? You have to think of right. We need to get this guy in, but what you don't want is you want new players to come in, which is great. And however many, how important is it that the new manager doesn't come in and just go, right, here's 14, 15 players. But then if it doesn't go well, then there's 14, 15 players going the other way. That's the hard bit I find at non-league football. Do you guys find that when you're going through the process of, right, we don't want to we understand there's going to be new players coming in, and so there should be, because even Joe admitted when I sat down with him and he'd done his last interview, he said maybe that was where we didn't adapt enough last season. We didn't bring in enough. But how hard is that when you sit down with people, Matt, and they go, right, I want to bring in 16, 17 new players, and you go, well, okay, great. But then if it doesn't go right, then there's 16, 17 new players going, I'm off ski. How hard is that on the non-league level, Matt? Because you're a fan of the club, you're on the directors. Does that go into the thinking of, yep, we need a refresh, we need to restart? How important is it though that you get this position has to be spot on, this appointment? We really have to nail this now, especially after the season we just had.
I think it's so important. Basically, I see whoever takes over as the custodian of the club for the next 2 to 3 seasons, maybe longer, depending on how well they get on, and they might be poached by somebody else. So it has to be the right decision. There's just no way that we can risk everything that we're doing, because yes, it's great that we're doing the community bits, it's great that we're doing so much out and about, but it is all about the results. That's the first thing that people see as a club. So yeah, it's going to be a difficult process, as I say, especially with the caliber that I've seen come through, but I have confidence in my fellow board members who will be sitting in on the interview that we will make the right decision, and we won't rush into a decision. If we have to go away and think about it for a day or two, that's what we'll do, because it needs to be the right decision for everybody, both players that are here already, players that are coming in, the fans, and the club in whole.
Yeah, because fundamentally, it's we can, and I've said this to you on podcasts, I've said this to you at games, we've had a pint about it. We can be the best football club in the world off the pitch. What will help even more and get your name out there even more is if you win games of football. Yeah, and definitely. That's very easy for us to sit here, coming into May, and we're not the guys that have got to do it, but the more games of football we do, and I've said this for a long time at Dunstable Town, I think we do a great job off the pitch, all the community work we do, all the walking football stuff that Ian does, everything that we do, I think is tremendous. I think the quicker that we can put a winning product on the pitch, I reckon you're going to see that work off the pitch. That's going to increase 10, 20, 30 fold. That's going to help because, people are going to, they're noticing us now. And that's because of the great work that you guys are doing off the pitch. We're doing things like podcasts now. We're on YouTube. Everything helps. The quicker that we can get a winning product on the field, I think that will only benefit us off the field even more. I don't know if that's something you agree with.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as I said earlier on, if you have success in the FA Cup, you do get the neutral fans who come in, who will be willing to support you for the FA Cup. Will they stay? You'd like to hope. So success breeds success. So the more successful you are on the field, the more people get attracted to the brand. I'm not blasé enough to think that we've got 400-500 fans who will come in no matter what the result. So we have to have our core supporters, but then we have other people who are casual fans who literally like to come along because we're winning. I haven't got a problem with that. At all. Just hope it happens.
Yeah. Do we have a rough, obviously I don't have to give specific dates, Matt, any rough ideas of when you would like the new manager to be in place by?
Within the next couple of weeks, literally.
Wow.
As I say, we want to get it done and dusted. We won't, let's say, rush the decision, but at the same time, we need to make sure it's done and dusted before, say, people go off for the summer break.
Yeah, definitely. Just finishing up, Matt. Anything else coming up at the club? And what's going on? Anything going on during the close season? I know we've got some good stuff that we're planning to do content-wise. You and I are sitting down with the mayor of Dunstable tomorrow. That show is going to come out next Monday.
Right?
Yeah, so P's and Q's tomorrow, Matty. You and I are sitting down with the mayor. It's going to be good to get an insight to see that side of how the football club is perceived. I know obviously she was at our last home game. I'm intrigued to see how the club fit into the structure of Dunstable. I spoke to the Dunstable Till I Die, Sharon over at Dunstable Till I Die today. I had a really good productive meeting with her. So there's some things that we're looking to do with them guys over there. Anything else coming up with it within the club within the close season, mate? Or you just at the minute you're just so focused on getting a new manager, I guess. You haven't really thought about it.
Well, that is important, but at the same time there is a load of stuff going on. So I started speaking to a couple of people to begin with, mainly Andrew and Neil to begin with, just because we talk to each other. We pretty much go to all the same games, so we was talking about stuff and talking about would it be great if we could just refresh a couple of bits and pieces. And so I think I've shared a couple of bits and pieces with you. So obviously there's some stuff we're going to be doing on social media soon.
Yeah, we're going to be working away.
Looking forward to that. But across the board, from sponsorship to matchday experience to volunteers, there's going to be quite a lot of activity by the club. We're going to be supporting the Dunstable Town events, as in the Town Council events. So you'll see us out and about. We want to start really getting that message out there. So yeah, just stay tuned. And if anybody fancies give us a hand in any way, shape or form, you know by now how to get a hold of me. I'm always the one that tweets and everything else. So yeah, just reach out to us and just look for, just stay tuned for the news.
Yeah, no, we've got lots of stuff content wise that we've got planned. I know you've sent me a few things that we're looking to do social media wise, and me and Brad and I spoke to Abby as well, Octavian. There's some great ideas that we've got floating around. So I think you'll see a big change from Dunstable Town on that side of things as we head into next season. But yeah, if there is anyone out there, I know a lot of the YouTube is absolutely flying. We thank you everyone so much that's tuning in via YouTube. Just hit that subscribe and like button. I've set me and Brad have set a target. We want to get over 1,000 subscribers by the first game of next season. So if you can just keep spreading the word, share the YouTube. If there is anyone out there that, like Matt says, does want to get involved, whether that be with sponsorship, whether that be helping out on match days, just wants to get involved in a football club. I done it, and now look at me. I'm sitting here every bloody week with a microphone microphone chatting to Matty. But I can't recommend it enough. Great football club to get involved in. Great group of people, all the way from the chairman to Neil to everyone that helps out at this football club. There's too many people probably to mention on the show, but I can't speak highly enough of what goes on behind the scenes. So if there is anyone out there listening to mine and Matt's dulcet tones and thinks, oh, I'd like to get involved in a non-league club or involved in a football club, well, now's your chance. Reach out via Dunstable Town Twitter, reach out via the at Talk of the Town Twitter, wherever way you want to reach out, just reach out and one of us will get back to you and put you in touch with the relevant people. But Matty, thanks as always, mate. Been good to sit down and chat some football. You and I are back tomorrow. We're sitting down with the mayor of Dunstable, but that show's going to be released next week. We've got our interview with Anthony and Carl Durkin. We sat down with them just before they left the club. That's going to be out on Thursday via YouTube only. So make sure you go and subscribe to that. This will obviously be out on all audio platforms as well. It's on Spotify and Apple, and like I say, on YouTube. But yeah, Matty, thanks very much, mate. Always good. You can just like maybe ring me on a Saturday or something and just give me something to do. I'm quite bored. I might just ring Steve Lewitton up to see if he wants to hang some kit up just for the hell of it. But yeah, make sure you check us out on Twitter at DTFC Pod. Go and check out Dunstable Town at Dunstable Town FC. And yeah, Matty, I'll speak to you tomorrow, mate. We have to suit and tie tomorrow for the mayor.
Yeah, definitely. Don't forget about your P's and Q's as well.
God, Pete, I didn't swear once. This Peter Bottom listens to this. I didn't swear once on this episode. I'm just gonna, I did well. But ladies and gentlemen, thanks for tuning in as always. Like I say, go and like, subscribe on the YouTube channel. Let's get us to 1,000 subscribers. Brad works way too bloody hard not to get 1,000 subscribers by the start of the season. But this has been the Talk of the Town podcast. I've been your host, Andy Burrows. That has been the amazing Matty Carrington. Till next time, everybody. As always, up the mighty Blues.